welcome to our graduation for Character GPS Summer Camp. We've had some campers working very hard. I think they deserve it, right? And we have our very special keynote speaker, Antonio Dowles, here. How about a hand for him? He's come to inspire the kids about a lot of the things we've learned, like having a can-do attitude. He's really good at that one, right? So we're going to do a little overview of what they've been learning all week. I know we've been sending, the adventures home to you to review with them. Hopefully they've been teaching you a lot so that they get it into their long-term memory, right? But we also want to do a quick introduction. Zoya has prepared a kind of a special little inspirational thought that she's had. She's an aspiring author and public speaker and motivational speaker, right? So how about a hand for Zoya? Come on up here, Zoya. All right, now we're going to try to use our microphone. All right, so I'm going to hand this to you here. All right. Zoya was in our first summer camp about 3 weeks ago.
Hello?
Yeah, just get really close to you there. Okay, Zoya, take it away.
Well, hi, first of all. Well, geez almighty, we made it to the end of the week. Woohoo! But even though we did, I know some are glad because they can leave and boast to show off what they have learned from this wonderful GPS camp. Others, though, are sad because they have to leave behind the friends they have made. But hey, that's what phone numbers are for. I want to thank you, each and every one of you, for coming each and every day this week to learn life-changing experiences. I'm grateful to both Miss Debbie and Mr. Jeff for letting me come back and be with these wonderful people. Let's start with Nivea. Nivea is nice. She's intriguing. She has a lot of victories. She likes to earn her way to the top, and she has a lot of accomplishments that she's made. Wow. I've got to know you throughout this wonderful week, and I want you to know one thing, even if you didn't learn anything special, but of course you did. You are beautiful, strong, and have a promising career ahead of you.
Wow.
Now let's go with someone I've known a very long time, Mr. Special, Brandon. Brandon is brave, very much so. He's respectful. He is very awesome. He likes jumping when a ball is sky high. He has big dreams. He's very independent. And sometimes he can be kind of nutty. In the special way that I have known you. And for you, Brandon, never forget the one person who has your back through thick and thin. Now, my Riley, my special girl, is Rosie. She yearns to learn everything there is. She's very loving to her dad. She encourages people. She likes to put up a whole bunch of events. And she's my baby girl.
Hey.
You're acting like you're my mom.
I can get a substitute, right?
Yeah.
Now Deborah, Riley's special friend. She is delightful. She's excited. She has a great big visions. She's oh so happy all the time. She's rightful and honest to the end. She's like an apple, whole and ripe. And she's helpful throughout the week. But I also want to thank Miss Debbie and Mr. Jeff, because Miss Debbie goes out in all kinds of weather to get us wonderful food. And Mr. Jeff is the reason why this program exists. So thank you, and have a good rest of your summer.
All right. All right. Now, she also mentioned just very briefly that we have two amazing young men who have been part of our camp here, the Santana duo here, right? And so you're going to get to hear some amazing things about them. They've done quite a bit here, and they are, you can tell they're sports people because they're kind of dressed in very flashy sports stuff. It's soccer time right now, right? In Russia, so it's an important time for them. All right, so we're going to quickly do an overview, just kind of to look back at how much these kids have learned this week about God's truth, and how they can put it into their lives to be successful. So let's start on our adventure here. So the first thing is, again, just a little overview. This is kind of what our program is about. Get the technology working here.
young adults are surrounded by negative influences from the media and problems like bullying, disrespect, and lying. Character GPS can help our communities get back on track. Students are engaged in 8 weeks of interactive multimedia workshops that focus on real-life application of 16 character values. Lessons include practical exercises, action plans, and assessments to help integrate these values into thoughts and actions. Let's all work together to steer our children and communities toward a better way.
So you can see that was all about the heart, right? We want them to have the knowledge and the truth, but it's got to translate to their hearts if it's going to affect the way they make decisions on a daily basis. So, guys, you know that we have talked about this over and over again, right? It's a fundamental choice. Do you want to be a weather vane or a compass? What do you want to be, guys?
Compass.
A compass, right? Because a weather vane is kind of like it turns with the changing winds. That's kind of like your emotions. And so we've talked about where some kids say, well, I don't feel like doing that, right? And so we've clarified that your parents have feelings too. They may wake up in the morning, one morning, and do they feel like going to work? No, not every day, right? But what do they choose to do, guys?
Go to work.
They go to work, right? They do the right thing. That's being a compass. Because when you do the right thing, good things happen in your life. Now, we also know that sometimes it's tempting to do what everyone else does. You ever said that? Well, everyone else is doing it, and you want to use that as a justification for something you want, right? But we know that it's important to follow principles. Even when it's not popular, right? We do the right thing because you may be the leader to lead other kids to do the right thing too, right? Sometimes it just takes one person doing the right thing to get everyone back on track. But if you choose to be a weather vane, which we talked about, they all knew some people, some kids that kind of were like weather vanes. We call that sad living, right? Because they're focused on themselves. That means you're not always going to get what you want when you want it. That's the way the world is. So you have adversity. And then they end up disappointed. And the sad thing, in our country of abundance, we have more disappointed people than I find in all my travels going around the world with people that have very little. They're much happier, right? Because they don't expect the things sometimes that we think we have to be happy. So unfortunately, the weather vanes end up wandering lost in life, right? But if we know the truth, and the truth will set you free, right? We know God's truth will get you on the right path. It's your guidance system, right? So when we follow the principles for success, we make proactive choices. Guys, can we create good luck in our lives? Absolutely. God wants good things for us, but if we do the right thing, we're prepared, He's ready to bless you, right? But if you're doing the wrong thing, you're going to suffer the consequences. So we've been talking about this. It's been in every one of our adventures. We call them adventures because, again, they're discovering things about themselves, what God wants for their lives. So we say, if this is today, you can't change your past, but if this is today, it's the first day of the rest of your life. And if you realize that God has great plans for you, right? Jeremiah 29:11 says He has great plans for you, right? But you've got to get there. So how do we get from today to our future? What's the shortest distance, guys? A straight line. And we've been practicing about aiming. When you aim at things, you have a better chance of hitting it, right? So we've actually been creating the stepping stones to create a straight path. Because without a path, you get distracted, right? And I think even our parents will admit, we all are human. We get distracted at times, right? So we've been helping them to plot a journey to the wonderful future by creating the GPS stepping stones. So the first stepping stone that we had was, what does PR stand for? Who's got? Proactive responsibility. All about making good choices. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Once you're making good choices, now that's a stepping stone to the second adventure toolkit, which is CD. What's that? My favorite. Who's got? Can do. That's right. You gotta have a can do. That's the way I was raised. It's corny, but it worked, right? In our family, you couldn't say you couldn't do something. It's your name. You can do it, right? So once you get out of all the negativity and you're thinking positive, now you're ready to TD, which is what?
Talent discovery.
You discover your talents, right? God's given everyone talents. Now we had some kids that came in first and said, I don't have any talents. Well, we had to straighten that out because God's given everyone talents. They learned some of their personality talents with their Myers-Briggs. So hopefully they shared some of that with you. So once you know you've got talents, now you have to put it to good use, right? And that's where V comes in. What does V stand for? Vision. You got to see where are you going, right? If you don't have a target, you can't hit a target you what? You don't have, right? You got to have target. You got to set goals, right? So that motivates us to move forward. So once we got a vision, we got targets we're shooting for, does that get you to your wonderful future? No, we need some more help, right? So the next stepping stone is 3T. Deborah, what was that?
Time, temptation, treasure.
Right, you got to manage your time, your temptations, and your treasure. And I think all the adults will agree in here, that is part of the human condition, right? We all get tempted at times. Sometimes we don't use our time. But guys, if we waste time, can you ever get it back?
No.
No, it's a very special gift that God gives us. We don't want to waste our time. So these kids are actually learning what to do so they won't be later in life looking back with regrets and say, oh, I wish I had done that, right? We all kind of have regrets at times. So they're getting an early start. So the next step then is, what's MR? What do you got? Meaningful relationships, not Jerry Springer, as adults may know, right? We don't need all the drama. We need healthy win-win relationships. We'll be talking more about that. Now, does that get you to your future?
No.
One more step. And I got to call on our team guy. What does TLC stand for? Yeah, basketball. He's our basketball guy. What's TLC stand for? Oh, someone help him out. Teams love collaboration, right? So we got to be team-oriented if we want to be successful in life. So we'll share with you that we've studied this. We've studied it in nature. We've studied it in actually solving puzzles and problems, that it really does work. So once we've got these stepping stones, now are we ready to get to our future? Yes, we are. That's right. So let's do a little deep dive. We got a few pictures in here of the kids doing fun stuff. So first, proactive responsibility, right? We want to choose to do proactive things, not reactive things, right? We know that when we react based on our emotions, we make mistakes, right? But if we stop and think, we can make good choices. So this is a key part of building habits that produce good results, right? We do wise things when we think about it. So there's Deborah and Riley. They were learning how to do, proactive by stab the potato. Hopefully you heard about stab the potato, right? Because they had to learn how to have confidence to do it, but they had confidence because they prepared for it, right? So the two parts is you prepare for the challenges in life, and then when you're in the challenge, you're ready to do your very best, right? So we realize that's an important part, the foundation of making good choices. So we said we need to be understanding that what's really important is not on the outside, right? We don't judge a book by its
cover.
Right, we look on the inside of people. So like an iceberg, the mass of the iceberg is below the surface. Let's see if they remember. How much of the iceberg is below the surface? You remember, what percent? 90%. The mass, only 10% is the tip, right? So when people see you on the outside, they may be judging you, but they don't really know you, right? But people of good character have the truth on the inside. So we were studying different values. One of them was truth, right? Because we know Abraham Lincoln's nickname was?
Honest Abe.
Honest Abe, right? Because he practiced telling the truth, even when it wasn't easy, right? So if we practice honesty, integrity, balance, discernment, and keeping promises, if we want to make it a habit, how many days do we have to practice it?
30 days.
30 days, right? So we practice it. It now comes to the surface, and we see the results. And people see that you're trustworthy. They see that you're reliable. You're a truth teller, right? And so they want you on their team, right? So this is what we were trying to learn, is how to build this good character on the inside. We used an example that when people don't have good stuff on the inside, it's kind of like a lemon. Under pressure, when you get squeezed, what's on the inside comes out. When you squeeze a lemon, what comes out of a lemon?
Lemonade.
Yeah, well, before you put the sugar on it, you get what?
Sour lemonade.
Sour lemon juice, right? That's why we have to put sweetener in it, because it's sour. But here in Florida, we're like Florida oranges, because when you squeeze a Florida orange, what comes out? Sweet orange juice, right? So what's on the inside is going to come out under pressure. So we want to have that character on the inside. When we're tested, good things come out of us, right? So Pastor Neely was with us in our workshops, and he was cheering the kids on. And, you know, everyone has challenges in life, but we're not victims, right? We can choose our future based on how we respond to the challenges in life, right? Life is not always, you know, fair, not always easy, but we can still choose our responses. So, CD now actually reminds us of Tim Tebow. Whether you're going to this office, right? When you're determined, when you have faith in yourself, and your team believes, right? When we all believe together, we can do amazing things, right? So we wanted to practice having this can-do attitude. And so I was kind of inviting everyone to join our Texan Canes, that's our family. But as we were going through, we needed to understand how God made you. If you understand how God made you, you better understand what you need to do in life. And so we were studying the brain, which is an amazing, you know, organ and a gift from God. But one of the things is how we make decisions. So our primitive brain, which is kind of in the back of our brain, is where our kind of fight or flight comes. And so when we are struggling and we're fearful, we go into our primitive mode, just like an animal, fight or flight, right? But the difference of being human beings is we have reasoning skills. We can make choices. We can even change our habits, right? Change our behavior. That comes from the frontal lobe. But we talked about the frontal lobe doesn't fully develop in your brain until what age, guys? What is that? 25. About 25. So we did a quick poll. How many of you guys are about 25 years old or older? Okay, our keynote speaker is, right? But none of the kids were. So they realized they need coaches, right? So your parents are a gift from God to help you make good decisions. You got to use your coaches, right? Even Olympic athletes, the very best in the world, they all have what?
Coaches.
A coach, right? So we want to use coaches to make good decisions, especially until our frontal lobe fully develops, right? So this is why it's important that we work and respect our authorities, our parents, honor your father and mother, right? Because they've got fully developed frontal lobes and they also have life experience, right? Now we talked about one other thing that kids struggle with these days, and that is our technology paradigm, where because of technology, it advances so quickly, we kind of think if something's old, it must be no longer of any good use. Is that right? You got to have the latest, greatest. So what happens when your parents say, oh, well, when I was your age, what happened? The kids' eyes roll because they're thinking, that's old, that's outdated, that's not going to help me, right? But we learned that principles and wisdom are never outdated. They're timeless, right, guys? So God's truth in the Bible, we didn't have to rewrite the Bible every few years, right? It's the truth, and it works, right? So we stick with the truth because the truth, as we said, will set you free. So we now believe we can do it, and everyone has joined the Texan Canes with us. So hopefully you're hearing at home can-do attitudes and not can't-do, right? All right, that's the goal here. So we even were practicing how we can set targets and achieve targets. And there's Devorah. She got lots of steps closer to her target because she was prepared. And then we went ahead and shot and hit the bullseye, right? We worked together on that. So having the can-do attitude is an important part of believing in yourself. And I think someone had a swimming competition. Was that yesterday? Was that you, Nivea? Did you have a swimming, something going on swimming? Oh yeah, swimming lesson, right? And because you had a can-do attitude, how'd that swimming lesson go? Yeah, see, because you weren't fearful. You had a can-do attitude. That makes it really work well. All right, so then our third step, remember, was TD. So we learned about our personalities. God's given us differences. One personality, though, is not better than another. It's just different. So we have to understand our differences. But when we pool all of our talents together, we are more capable, right? The team is. So we were celebrating that you score a touchdown when you discover your talents, our TD, right? So we had some fun doing that. And of course, we know that everyone has different, unique talents. And some are better directional things than others. We were kind of trying to say, where is north? And we had to use a compass to find out what north was, right? All right, now, But what we're encouraging the kids to do is learn your talents now and then develop those, right? Use your strengths. You can always develop more talents, but use your God-given talents first to build your confidence. So we talked about my wife, Miss Debbie, because she has a talent for playing the piano. In fact, she discovered her talent for music at the age of 4 years old. Can you believe that? And so her dad was a musician, so she learned to play the accordion, which must have been about as big as she was, right? And then the piano. By age 13, she was so good that she was teaching piano lessons to adults. Here she's a 13-year-old in her dad's music store, right? And so Debbie went on to study to be an amazing concert pianist and a master's degree in it. She's been teaching piano ever since. And this is just a sample of how good she is, all right? We talk about a little piece of heaven. I get to hear this every day. Fingers don't even move that fast. I don't know. Is that pretty good, guys? Right, but you gotta work at your talents, right? She's worked very hard. And you also notice she's doing this from memory, right? That is in her long-term memory because she drilled it in, kept practicing, right? So I am very blessed. I get to listen to amazing piano playing concerts at home, and it's a little piece of heaven. So the kids all realize that there are famous people out there that have done great things with their kinds of talent. So we have heroes, we have people that we can learn from. We don't have to start from scratch. So that was kind of an inspiration to them. So once we got then to our vision, having a vision for our lives, we realized that setting goals is so important, right? And our keynote speaker is going to talk about setting goals and how that helped motivate him. But we have to answer 3 questions in life, guys, right? What do you want to have? What do you want to do? And what do you want to be? But the order that we answer this is so important, right? So which is more important? Have, do, or be? That's right. The bullseye on the be. Discover who God made you to be, then you'll do the things that develop those talents, and then you have the things in life that money can't buy, right? Yeah. The confidence, the self-esteem, the sense that you are in God's will and you're able then to use that, like Debbie, to help other people. So we are on the inside out, right? What the character on the inside of us. So Debbie's reminding everyone to have a good vision, right? Will create happiness in your life. If you find your passion, guys, they say you'll never work a day in your life. Does that make sense? Right? So that's the opportunity. So we learned a tool to help set goals called SMART goal setting, right? And so we use the acronym SMART to plan for our dreams. So the S stands for what? Specific. M. A. Attainable. R. Relevant. T. Time-bound, right? So they're going to be sharing some of their SMART goals, and they're getting focused and excited about their future. And having a vision board, they've been trying to say, what is that amazing future going to look like? So here we got Adriel, and he wants to be an NBA point guard, right? And I think he's well on his way. The way I've been seeing him shoot out here is pretty good. So if you keep practicing it, you get really good at that stuff, right? So we learned, though, that you need then to manage yourself to stay focused, right? Hard thing to do. So you have to manage your time, temptation, treasure. So our kids, as they should have shared with you, were already studying time management, right? Because they don't want to be distracted. They don't want to escape from the real world and the fantasy world all the time. They want to have their real life so exciting that they love life, right? They're not trying to escape from it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of Americans trying to escape. They're not happy, right? But these guys are going to be happy leaders. But we know in order to do your must-dos, like your tests, and when it's games on the line, it all comes from investing your time in what, guys? Preparing. You prepare for success, and then you're ready to perform. And so we talked about studying for your tests, doing your homework, getting your sleep. So everyone was working on trying to get to bed by 10 o'clock for the summer. We don't want to get so far off schedule that when school starts, then it's really tough, right? So we're going to have some good habits. Because Ben Franklin, remember famous Ben Franklin had a quote? He said, early to bed and early to rise makes a man what? Healthy, wealthy, and wise, okay? So those are, again, some biblical principles kind of put into a nice, catchy statement, right? So we actually had them analyzing the activities. Where do they spend their time? And we saw that we're doing pretty good on the must-dos and some preparation, but we see still lots of distractions and escape. And if you zoom in, distractions are like TV, computer games, right? You know, sometimes your friends, you know, when you need to be doing your chores or something else, right? So learning how to say no to temptation. You work and then you what?
Play.
Right. Work and then play is the approach. So we were actually putting these down, analyzing, getting aware of how we're spending our time so we could decide to stop wasting time and put it to good use to develop our talents. Right, guys? You did an awesome job. So making good choices is going to lead to good results. So then we decided to have a little fun. 3D, 3T, they kind of sound the same, right? So we watched a 3D movie because when you have 3T, and we have these special 3T glasses to watch a 3D movie, it's like you see life in a new way, right? Well, oh yeah, what are the 3 dimensions? We want to make sure everyone knew what 3 dimensions were. What are the 3 dimensions? You don't know. Do you remember? Length. Width.
Height.
There we go. That makes it come to life. So time, temptation, and treasure brings your life to life, right? You're going to be able to manage it when you've got those 3 things under control. So we were having some fun watching 3D movies, and with our 3T glasses, not available in any store, only in Character GPS, right? Okay, so we had some fun there. So now we're ready to go to meaningful relationships. And so what is it all about?
The golden rule.
And who can tell me what the golden rule is? Yes?
Treat others the way you want to be treated.
That is right? And Matthew tells us this is the way we need to be thinking. We're not thinking about selfish, not putting number 1, right? We're thinking about other people, but we need to make sure that it's balanced in our relationships, right? And so especially we were thinking about who should we be thinking about and appreciating at home? Who would that be? Your parents, making lots of sacrifices. We played a Family Feud game to kind of practice what are the different responsibilities parents have. It was a very interesting. We have it videoed so you can hear what they thought parents might be responsible for. But we focused in on the main things, right? And we realized that kids sometimes make it hard, right? So instead of making it hard to get you fed and get your education, what should we do, Deborah?
Make it easy.
Right. So we should be cooperating and helping and doing our part, right? And then appreciating. Now, I told you a story about my dad, right? He didn't like his job, supporting family, 7 kids. So when he came home, I tried to meet him, and I'd look and say, Dad, what would I say? I said, Dad, you look thirsty. Can I get you a drink of water? And he would just beam, right? That someone appreciated him, right? So your parents are working hard. We want to show appreciation because they're your coaches. They're going to help you make good decisions. They love you and they're pulling for you. So it's all about respect, right? We had a little fun with this, right? What does respect stand for? Respect everyone's special personality, ethnicity, culture, and talents, right? And we're just asking for a little respect, right? Go a long way, right? So we had a little fun with that, right? Because respecting others, right? Respecting yourself and your body, and of course respecting God, right? Because God, everything comes from God. If we don't respect God, we take Him for granted too, we're in trouble, right? So we had to say that MR is the answer, right? And look at our students. They get it. They are answering so many questions. It was amazing, right? And they, of course, were having fun, building some fun relationships along the way as well. So we had a great time here. So now the highest level, when we build all these talents and skills, the highest level is TLC, Teams Love Collaboration. So we did a lot of activities to work together. We also looked at nature. And nature demonstrates teamwork. These are sandhill cranes. You know that they mate for life. So whenever you see sandhill cranes, they get separated, they start honking. And so like Debbie and I kind of use it as, you know, like when we're separated, honk, honk, where are you? We got to communicate, right? So they had some little chicks there, right? So they're having a great family there. So the principle, 2 are better than 1, right? Ecclesiastes, Solomon had it right. So we were trying to study where the models of teamwork were, and we had a few little bumps along the way. Because we said, you know, birds fly in a V shape. And we asked the kids, well, why do they fly in a V shape? And we got some interesting answers, right? Devorah, what is the reason they fly in a V shape?
That's aerodynamics.
Right, the aerodynamics, right? So the lead bird, they thought, well, maybe the lead bird's smarter than the other birds, you know? And we had all sorts of hypotheses and theories about this. But the lead bird's cutting the air, right? So the other birds can fly, right, in those air pockets, so they don't have to work so hard. When the lead bird gets tired, where does it go? Right, it switches to the back, and the next bird takes over. So they're able to rotate as a team and fly and migrate long distances when one bird couldn't do that on their own, right? So we saw that teamwork really works, right? It works in nature. And so we practiced it doing some puzzles, and they saw some problems are really tough to solve. We had some tough puzzles, right, guys? I saw smoke coming out of some ears. It was dangerous. We had to be very careful. But when they worked together, it was more fun, it was easier, it wasn't such a burden, right? And then we were much more productive. So Gianni, you know, he knows that two are better than one, and he helped me out with an extra. I was asking him to feed my fish, and he helped me out with my little fish, but when it came to my shark, he was not as thrilled about feeding the shark, right? Okay, so we had some fun with this. So, what does this all mean? If we pull it all together, if we realize that God's truth really works in our lives, we could use teamwork to accomplish anything, right? Nothing is impossible when we have our teamwork going. At home, right? At school, whatever. So let's say we put together, we want success. Here's the components of success, right? Good character, the principles of truth, values, good habits, and faith. And then we put our human energy, right? Our dreams, our passions. When we put this together, what do we get from success and energy? We get synergy, right? So we would love to have lots of synergy in our life. It energizes us, it makes us excited. So now we're ready to get to work here. So now that we know what we've learned and we're going to put it to good use, we need some inspiration, right? So here we go. We have a countdown to the next part of our program here. Now, who is this amazing lawyer, all right? Well, he played football, basketball, and track at Riverview High School. He had a severe car accident that left him paralyzed. That was not a good day, right? But he graduated from the University of Florida. He overcame that adversity, went to school at Tebow, okay? And he got his MBA at St. Thomas University. Didn't make excuses. He went forward with his dreams. Graduated from law school at St. Thomas. Passed the Florida bar exam. Talk about top status guys, right? That is awesome. Then he retired as a chief counsel for a software company. And now he inspires many people as a motivational speaker. Who are we talking about? Our very own Antonio Dowd, right? How about a hand for Antonio Dowd? Come on up, Antonio. You don't get too many introductions like that, do you?
No, do I even need it? I think I'm live.
Well, I think for the camera, Debbie was hoping just to
camera?
capture this, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna kind of let this come around
Really bad
here.
with holding mic, so you can
Yeah.
follow.
There we go.
Hello.
That is awesome.
I gotta get really close to this thing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
You gotta get really close to this thing.
Oh, okay.
Now, by the way, we gave Antonio a leg too, because when you go to Hawaii, when you get off the plane, they give you a leg because you're in paradise. Here at Character GPS graduation, it is a paradise, right? So we have legs for all the parents, anyone else who wants one as well. All right.
So I want to thank you, Mr. Kane, Debbie, for inviting me out here. This is like my second time. This is my
That's
second
right.
time speaking. I'm actually on the advisory board for them, so I'm excited to help them out. Before I get into my little spiel, I always ask two questions when I talk to little kids. So raise your hand if this applies to you. Raise your hand if you can breathe. You can't breathe?
It's not a trick
It's
question.
not a trick question. Okay. Raise your hand if your brain works properly. It's not a trick question either. Everyone should raise their hand. Okay,
Well,
I'll
at least
come.
most days,
Well,
right?
most days, yeah. So I'll come back to that. So, like you said, I'll give a little bit additional to what he was saying. So I'm born and raised here in Tampa. To my mother, I didn't know my dad. She had 3 kids, so she worked 3 jobs just to keep us in the house. She was barely there at the house when I got out of school. So I had a lot of temptations to go out there and get into bad stuff like a lot of my cousins, but I decided not to do that. I had good family members who spoke positivity, saying that I'll be smart, don't go out there and do bad stuff like hang with gangs and all that stuff. So I actually listened to them. So I was very smart. I played football and track once I got into high school. I worked right after school all night to get a car so I could be able to drive. And I just said I wanted to be something special. Like my grandmother said, she said, you always be something special, when you grow up. So I believed her.
So Antonio, now let's just kind of stop right there. So he's making good decisions, right?
Yeah.
He is working hard on his schoolwork. He's hard on his sports. Well, they put together a little video to kind of describe what he was doing. He was on the right path to success. Watch what happened to Antonio, though. This is his story.
Antonio Dowles moved much like a shark. Fast, sleek, hungry. The 17-year-old played football, track, and basketball at Riverview High School.
He's also a 4.0 student, just awesome kid.
On a fast track to a college scholarship, a late-night drive home after a meet brought his dreams to a screeching halt.
I was really tired. I fell asleep, but when I fell asleep, I drove that route so much that I joked that I was going to my house. I was up under the semi-truck, and that's all I remember.
At Tampa General Hospital, doctors diagnosed Antonio with a spinal cord injury.
My mind went berserk. I went crazy. I'm like, okay. And I just broke down. I couldn't pray.
You can imagine what a mom
Now,
goes
hands
through,
that stole
right?
this football from the intended receiver could no longer move, and legs that carried him to second place in state track finals, motionless. From that moment on, Antonio's goals changed.
Being able to do everything that I used to do.
His training room is now Tampa General Hospital's Rehabilitation Center. His coaches are the therapists that work both his muscles and his willpower. Every day is a busy day. Antonio must learn how to clean up, get dressed, eat, with very limited mobility. His family must learn how to help him help himself. And each day, Antonio strives to regain more movement.
I expect Antonio is going to continue to improve. I mean, he still is relatively early in the healing process, and the nerves in the spine are still healing at a cellular level.
This is, without a doubt, the biggest challenge of his young life.
My blood pressure goes up and down. My temperature goes up and down. Always hot, always cold. It never regulates, so it's hard.
So what keeps him motivated?
God, very religious person. Just the fact that I want to get better.
And one day go back to school, maybe not as the big-time playmaker, but still as an inspiration.
He's so positive, and he's so strong, within. He gets his strength from within. He gets his strength from the Lord. I know he's going to do it. He really believes he can do it, and he's one of those kids that can pretty much will what he wants to happen. I really believe that.
Antonio is home now, but he still has many months of therapy ahead of him.
All right, so they put this together, and bro, since we've known Antonio, I thought we had a can-do attitude. Antonio is amazing, the most independent person I have ever seen. And he's not making excuses, he doesn't complain about anything, he just makes things happen, right? So Tony, I just had to show that little clip because I think that really shows what you've been persevering through.
Yeah, so that actually was 11 years ago when that happened. So I had my whole life ahead of me. I was in high school, I played football, I ran track. I was just starting to get recruited to play college football, so I was so excited. I have my own car, So, you know, the sky was the limit for me. So I had big plans for myself. So I'm super excited. But one night, I was running at a track meet, and they get out really late, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. So I went to my high school after the track meet and was driving back to Tampa. So I was only 5 minutes from home, and I fell asleep when I was driving and hit a big semi-truck, and then I broke my neck. So I woke up, so all my plans, all my future stuff changed instantly. So I woke up in the bed, couldn't move my fingers, still can't move anything from right here in my chest down. So 80% of my body I couldn't move. So at that point when I woke up, my grandma was like, well, you know, you either can just lay here and just soak and cry, or you know, you can keep following your dreams. It's just gonna be a different way to do it. So, you know, I said, you know what? I think God has a plan for me. I'm gonna keep doing my dreams, and I'm gonna keep doing it. So a lot of people didn't believe that I was gonna do what I said I was gonna do. I told them I was gonna go to college and do everything myself, and everyone kept saying, no, you need to stay here in Tampa. You know, you need to stay and let people care about, you know, take care of you. And I was like, no, I believe in myself. I know I can do it. So I like he said, I went to the University of Florida. I'm really good friends with Tim Tebow. I was working with the football and basketball team. So I went there, and then I graduated from there all by myself, you know, with help, of course, but, you know, doing it all by myself. Then I went to law school and business school, and now I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
I never thought a day in my life I was going to be a lawyer, but I'm a lawyer now. I work in Lakeland. I work for a software company, but I got the coolest job in the world. I get paid to do nothing. That's what I tell people. So I called off all last week, and I went to Virginia. I got to travel a little bit, and then I called up half this week and told them I'm sick. So, you know, when I go to work, I have a lot of candy and snacks there, so a lot of people that work there are very fat. So we get to just have fun. So, you know, just because of the hard work, I get a job that I enjoy, and, you know, I get to travel. I've been to Germany, been to Dubai last year, China, Switzerland, everything. You know, I can barely move most of my body, but, you know, because I believe in myself, you know, I do all this stuff all by myself. So I know I live by 4 principles. One is to have a plan, you know, and not just to have a plan, you need to write down your plans. What I say is the smallest pencil is more powerful than the biggest brain, because you can have all the plans in your head, but if you don't put it into action and actually see it, it won't come to fruition. So when I first got hurt, like I said, I couldn't move my hands, but I told my grandma to write everything I wanted to do down. So I wrote that I was going to go to college. I wrote that I was going to go to medical school, because at that time I thought I wanted to be a doctor. But I wrote it down so I could see it. And even the small goals, like, okay, this week I'm going to try to grab something, you know, from the refrigerator. I always write down your goals, and then you can see it. I know the most powerful and the most talented people, when they go to the NBA or NFL, they always do little stories about when they were 5, 8 years old. They wrote, I'm going to be the best basketball player in the world. And you know, they wrote it down and they sent it to their parents, but they saw it. And that's what I did. And you guys can do the same thing. The second thing is valuing education. It doesn't matter what you want to do. Be a lawyer like me, be an architect, be a basketball player. We're going to find out what you guys want to be. But anything you have to do, it requires education and loving it. And not caring what, you know, other people say, calling you nerd, calling you like to, you know, be a bookworm. When I was young, you know, I was naturally smart. So I was in class with nothing but white people. And all my friends and all my black friends used to pick on me and say, hey, you're a nerd, and all that stuff. I used to hate it. But now, they're patting me on the back saying, man, I wish I was like you. You know, I wish I would have, you know, tried harder. And like you said, you can't get time back. So while you're young, you guys need to work really hard at school and education, because when you look back on it, you know, you've been a lawyer, you get to travel everywhere, and you're going to be like, man, I was so happy that I did that when other people didn't. And then they got to work twice and, you know, 3 times harder as you. Third thing is fostering positive relationships. I can't stress that enough. I'm constantly like loot blocking people, you know, people that, you know, just speaking negativity. You're gonna always have people that say you can't do it, you know, say that it's too hard, but, you know, don't believe in them. Always have people that speaks life into you. You know, that's really big, because you are who you keep around you. And I always try to keep people that are smarter than me. So, you know, I can be like, one day I'm going to be like you. If you got people that's there that's not doing much, you know what you're going to do? You're going to look back and say, shoot, I haven't done anything, you know, in 2 years. Because you're hanging around people like that. So always be around people who say you can do it, you know, who's pushing you. And then lastly is believing in yourself. I can't stress that enough. That's, you know, a lot of people told me you couldn't do it. You know, when I first got hurt, you're not going to be able to do this. You can't do it. You saw in the video, I couldn't barely move my hands. They had to strap stuff to my legs, but I believed in myself. Even now, my grandmother and my mom, they tell me, hey, you shouldn't go to that country by yourself. You know, you're not going to be able to do it. I went to Tokyo all by myself in August. And I took all August off and went to Tokyo and Dubai, and it was like 120 degrees. But I did it all by myself. And my grandma was like, I don't think you should go there. But I was like, I believe in myself. And when I said I was going to go to law school, people were like, you can do it. But I believed in myself. And like I said, when I first started talking, I asked, if you can breathe and if you have a brain, you can do anything you put your mind to. Like Mr. Kane said, God has placed talents in every last one of you. He gave every last one of you guys everything you need to succeed in life. So whatever you want to do, you already have it inside you. All the thing you have to do is work yourself. So I know your parents are here. You have people that support you, people that believe in you. I believe in you. All the Canes, they believe in you. So all the thing you have to do is believe in yourself, and you can do it.
Okay, I'm going to hand Mr. down. So we want to award you because, Antonio, you are a hero to us. He is a hero. Wouldn't you guys say that's true?
Yes.
It's heroic.
Yes.
All right, so what we're going to do now, he's going to come over here, and as we call the kids up to share now what they've learned about themselves here in this summer camp, we're going to have their picture taken with them, all right? So we have a camera, my phone right there. So the first one is going to be Brandon is our first award winner here. So come on down, Brandon. Now, Brandon earned the most reward chips in our weekend. Did you know that? You earned the most chips. We added it all up. He worked very hard. And every opportunity he had to earn chips. Like we went outside for lunch to play and we said, hey, you want to help clean up the yard a little bit for Pastor Dealey? Well, guess who immediately, I said, I'll give you a chip for every piece that you pick up. Well, man, he was working so hard to pick up anything he could find. He was out on the road picking up everything. So Brandon's got a lot of initiative, right? You're a hard worker. So he has prepared himself. If you want to use your script, or do you want to do it by memory? Grab your script here real quick. So we're going to have them answer some questions, and they've been preparing for their success because this camp is not the end. This is just the beginning of the rest of their lives that they are now prepared for. So I'm going to ask you these questions. So first, Brandon, I want you to turn around here to everybody. I want you to come around this side, and I'm going to use the microphone. There we go. Okay. So Brandon, first of all, what are some words that describe you?
Priceless, smart, and
Excellent words. Okay, so they're learning about themselves. They did their Myers-Briggs to see what their personality, natural gifts were. So what is your natural role? He is a counselor, okay, an idealist, right? And so what are some of your strengths? He loves to help people. He's a very helpful person during the camp. And what would be, since we're human, we need to know also our blind spots. What are our weaknesses?
changes.
What's that?
Changes.
Okay, and what else? And you're going to work on some bad habits, right? Okay, working on bad habits here. Okay, so now we put together SMART goal plans. So we're going to ask Brandon someday, just like Antonio Dow's decided to become a great attorney, what would you like to be someday?
Soccer player.
Okay, so now we're going to use the SMART goal setting. We're going to be specific because people don't draft soccer players, they draft by position. So what would you like to be?
A midfielder.
All right, so he's got his niche. He's a midfielder because he's a fast runner. He can cover. Those are big soccer fields. You can run up and down all the time. So that's your S first, the SMART goal. That's specific. Now, what's the measure? How do you know when you're ready to play professional soccer?
I'll get a contract.
Right, you got to have the contract. Even when they draft you, until you got the contract, you can't play. So now, what are your attainable steps to get from today to this amazing future?
Play soccer in high school.
Okay, so you gotta get the high school experience,
Get a college degree.
get a college, gotta get the high school diploma, we're gonna make sure we get that, right?
Go to college.
Go to college,
Graduate.
graduate,
Practice.
and practice and get drafted, right, into a soccer league, whether it's here or maybe it's New Madrid, you know, maybe you'll be playing overseas, who knows, right? You wanna play here in America or overseas?
Yeah.
Here, okay, so the family can come see more easily. All right, so those are the attainable steps. Now, relevant. Why do you want to be a soccer player?
Because I'm good at it.
Okay, so he sees he's got natural talents.
I'm a good friend with
So he's been doing it a long time. He looks like a soccer player. He's like very low body fat there. He can run forever. Okay, so time bound. So adding up all those attainable steps, how long is it going to take for you to achieve becoming that professional midfielder soccer player?
It'll take me about 9 years.
9 years. Okay, so it's not like next year or the year after. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? But you're going to stay focused, right, in achieving that. So what are some principles you learned from Character GPS to keep you on this 9-year voyage to your success?
Teamwork is